Jordan Peele, he's wanting us to question things.
Someone said something along the lines of like, oh, I love brown babies. Brown is so in right now.
Oh, dude.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Chumps, where chatting about movies feels like hanging out with friends. I'm your host, Marcel, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Danny.
This week, we are continuing our month-long watch of thriller, spooky, and some scary movies. We are watching the 2017 film Get Out, directed and written by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, Catherine Keener, Caleb Landry Jones, and much more.
Before we jump into it, though, quick reminder. We want to remind you to please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Turn on those notifications so that way you never miss an episode.
To join the conversation, follow us on social at Real Chums. And if at the end you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you left a review. It helps us get discovered.
And on a quick note, in case you don't make it to the end of the episode, next week we'll be talking Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
So make sure you watch that. We'll remind you at the end of the episode, but that's that one there.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for reminding us.
Question of the day.
Question of the day. Is Jordan Peele the modern day Hitchcock?
Oh, that's a good question.
That could be a whole episode.
Have you seen Us or no?
I have not seen either of those.
Okay.
But I've seen enough of the behind the scenes. I've seen enough of some breakdowns and some other things. I just haven't watched the movies. Because I take a little bit longer to get into scary movies.
They're not scary.
I know they're suspenseful, but the thing is, like, those movies I don't immediately go out and watch.
Yeah.
They're on my watch list, and I think part of it is because, like, I want to dedicate real time to it. That's not just something that I'm trying to like consume when I'm trying to wind down and trying to whatever.
Yeah.
But Jordan Peele is such an amazing filmmaker.
Incredible filmmaker. Like, I love watching Key and Peele.
Yes.
Okay. And I think it's on Netflix right now. I binged all of the first 5 or 4 seasons a couple of months ago.
Okay, so
let me tell you why. Because they're only 20-minute episodes, okay? And there's only like 15 episodes per season.
The moment it's 20... What would you say? 25 minutes? 25 minutes?
25 minutes. Okay. Yeah.
The moment it's 27 minutes and it's almost 30 minutes, you're out.
Yeah, no, man. I ain't got time to sit down. And
I love it. I'm never going to let you live that down.
Listeners, as many of you know, I just can't do long episodes, long seasons. I can't. It's hard for me to... It speaks more to my level of commitment in every aspect of life, okay? I have commitment issues. That's just what it is. That's really what it is.
And I don't.
And I don't.
Okay, so the question is, so do you feel... So yes or no? Do you feel like Jordan Peele is becoming the modern day Hitchcock?
When you say... I want to dissect this question.
Okay, that's fine.
When you say Hitchcock, you mean from like being a great thriller filmmaking, like suspenseful filmmaker?
I think
because he does a lot of he uses suspense and horror elements to tell social commentary stories, right? Which I don't think Hitchcock.
No, because he was a white guy.
Yeah, right.
But here's my thing. Hitchcock still told stories that were more risky in his time period.
Yes.
Right? So he's told these stories. To me, when I think, I would say yes.
Okay.
Because Jordan Peele is a master at his craft. I think him and when they were Key and Peele, when they were doing their show, that they were able to flex their muscle in short form, impactful, weekly, episodic sketches, and getting even more aggressive with the reps, right? But deep down inside, he wants to tell really impactful stories, and he's chosen to horror or suspense as his medium. Was a forefront individual in filmmaking. A lot of his techniques are leveraged and talked about to this day in film school. All right, I didn't go to film school, but like in video production and whatever. So with that, I think what Jordan Peele is doing now is trying to, he's asking us to be smarter with film. I think Hitchcock was trying to do the same.
Yeah.
Is that he was trying to leverage the medium. I think Jordan Peele is also doing stuff like that. And so that's why I feel like...
From that perspective, yes. I think he is a modern-day Hitchcock. Yeah.
Sweet.
And he's incredible.
He's phenomenal. I love him. It's been great. If you let us know what your thoughts are on that question by responding to the poll on Spotify or in the comments on YouTube.
Let's jump into it.
Dude, you've been wanting to
I've been wanting to talk about this forever.
I've been wanting to watch this movie forever.
Well, let's start there. Let's talk like first impressions of Get Out. So you just barely watched it.
I watched this last night.
And you only got to see it once.
I only watched it once.
Oh man, the second time is just...
I know, I'm sure. But
I'm sure.
But I feel like because of...
Tell me.
So going into this, one thing I was really not taken aback, but like I was, because of the amount of like media since its release and like commentary and stuff like that, there was a lot of beats that I felt like I anticipated fairly well.
Okay.
Right. I think there's a couple of things of that in the fact that like I am a person of color. I also married a white girl. And so, like I understand some of those, like those cues that he was writing in that I think for a lot of individuals may not have
picked up on. Yeah.
So that was one thing. And I don't think he did a terrible job of that. I just think that like, because of like circumstances and seeing where some things were, I caught some things. We'll talk about what some of those are later. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think the actors were phenomenal. You feel Jordan's writing, and it is so great.
It's smart.
I love that it's
sharp.
It's all wonderful adjectives. Because like I think what I love most about it is it feels very connected to society. It's connected to our world. Sometimes when you watch films or sitcoms or X, Y, and Z, you're on this weird spectrum where like there's like movie, and then there's realism, and most people kind of tout the line of like towards the movie aspect. Then you got stuff like Come On, which is a little bit more on the like realism end, and trying to be that aspect, or like The West Wing, or what's his name, the one who did Aaron Sorkin, who is very active on like trying to make sure things sound correct in the natural. That's a perfect example. I find that he touts that line of like natural realism, but movie. But that, like you said, sharp, like smart. But I also feel very much Jordan in it, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love, again, directors are some of my jams. I really enjoy films from those individuals because they know what they're looking for. They can write to that, and then they can bring it out in the filmmaking when they go into the actual production process. And probably even into the post-production as they, maybe when they sit back and watch reviews on whatever that might be. I think a lot of the other stuff that I want to talk about will come in through some of the other conversations. Sure. But I wanted to know, when was the first time you watched this?
I think I didn't see this until like post like Oscar season, because this was nominated for best film and among other things. I think I saw this like right before or right after Oscar season of 2018. And I had heard everything. In my lifetime, I think there have been a handful of moments when a movie comes out, people are talking about it, they don't say anything, they just say you have to watch it. Yeah,
that is very much, it's a very big, for a lot of his films, actually all of his films, I think. are very much, they don't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's talked about, but nothing's really like specific.
And it's not like they're wanting to avoid spoilers. Like when Endgame or Infinity War came out, I know Marvel like did a lot of tweets of like, don't spoil it for others. Well, it's not like that. It's people saying to each other like, you have to experience it.
Ooh, yes.
You just have to watch it. And I kept hearing this constantly.
Yes.
Those like first 6 months when the movie came out, it's like, you just have to watch it. Like Sixth Sense was one of those where like people would, as a kid, I remember like adults talking and being like, you just have to watch it. Right. Okay. And this is one of those times like, I just had to watch it. And no one spoiled anything. So when I saw it first, I saw it at home. I didn't see it in theaters. I was just like, I laughed. I thought it was, like I said, smart and sharp. I resonated so much with it. I'll talk about some of the things that just hit home. I was cheering. I don't think I've ever in a movie have been like, yes,
so much.
Get at them. Like, like the last 20 minutes, I was just like, yes, like, kill him. You know, like, I'm not a vengeful person. I'm not, or revengeful, but like, this just felt like, I hope they get it, man. Like these are some of the worst human beings depicted on screen, and I just, they don't deserve it. And like, I was just cheering at the end and laughing at the same time, and feeling like the fear and the suspense of it. I felt all emotions on the spectrum during this movie. And I've said this before, like, this is a movie that I think I've seen this like maybe 4 times since it's come out. But I think I think of this movie on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and I absolutely understand why you say that. I will probably think about it on a very regular basis, partly because I mean, I'm married a white girl, and so I mean, even when we're watching, my wife was like, "You getting trauma?
You getting trauma? Is this resonating?
Are you triggered? Are you triggered right now?" I resonate with that feeling of like nervousness in a situation like that. Anyways, my in-laws are great. I mean, there's moments where for sure there's been like, I've had to call people out on like culturally insensitive, might be a little bit racist in some moments, in any case. But I think this is a perfect time to jump in to talk about this, because this is what this movie's about.
That's what this movie's about, yeah.
This movie is about Chris Washington, a photographer who's been dating this white girl for about 5 months now, and he's going to go to meet her parents for the first time. In this event, he discovers something is not right, and is then slowly unravels an onion that becomes quite unpleasant.
Quite unpleasant. Yeah. No, this is perfect. Perfect description. I wanted to start off with this question.
Okay.
Is it appropriate for Chris to have asked Rose if she has told her parents that he's black?
Yes.
Why?
I love when I do this. You always wait for me to like think about something, and then I just like look. I mean, I think one of the big things is that as a person of color, there is this. Even look, I don't. You may be. You might. There. Like in all situations, like if you're dating, if you're a person of color dating a white person, mm-hmm. and you know that individual, but that does not mean that their parents will understand.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because generational changes, mm-hmm. right? Generation wise, and depending on where they grew up, and like whatever you want to call it, or all the other things that you call it, go into that aspect, right? If the Caucasian partner's parents grew up in either a more rural or a more predominantly like white area, not as cityscape, because cities tend to have more melting pots, more diversity in them, because that's where a lot of workers end up going to attract like housing and like trying to like when they come and immigrate. And so I think for me, there's a lot of it. There's a huge baggage, because there's always a baggage when you're having a relationship and you're going to meet the parents, right? There's always like trying to make sure that they feel safe, that they're with their individual as a male, right? As well as the fact that like as a female, that like you know, like me again, feeling embarrassed by them or whatever. I mean, you're like, hey, your parents are going to be safe. You still ask that when you're the same race.
Yeah.
But adding that race separation, or the difference in cultures and race when you go to see that parent is a big deal.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And it's one of those things that is huge with interracial couples.
Yeah.
I even, you know, like, I remember having that conversation.
Okay.
You know, like, I remember asking, you know, they know she's, you know, she told, you know, my wife told her parents and her family, hey, like, I'm bringing my boyfriend, who I'm probably going to marry. And they knew from previous, because like of other situations, that I was Mexican. But even then, it's a weird situation, and it was a point of concern. You know, hey, like, are you? You know, I was asked, are you worried about cultural differences? Are you worried about like not understanding each other, or disagreeing on something because of different, you know, because of the culture differences or whatever, right? As a man, as a Hispanic with a white girl, I wouldn't have married her if I didn't feel like she understood my background.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, there's times where like she doesn't agree with some of my decisions or some of my feelings or thoughts. In the sense, like, she, like, her understanding doesn't agree, but she doesn't. It's like hard for her to understand.
Yeah.
But she agrees, or she accepts my decisions, or some of the feelings, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Which is part of freaking being a couple.
That's just being in a relationship.
Right. Just being in a relationship. So, I wanted to, for you, do you feel that it was appropriate?
100%.
Right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with like, I hate the commentary of like, oh, I'm colorblind, right? Like, it shouldn't matter. No. Okay.
Look, it does.
It matters. Okay. And because I'm not colorblind, like, I'm able to understand people have different backgrounds, different experiences, even though we grew up in the same area or whatever it is, right?
Right.
It's very different. But yeah, no, 100%. It's very appropriate to ask that question. I remember in high school, there were a handful of times where, like, whether it was prom, homecoming, or some school dance, I went to go pick up the girl, and
she didn't say anything.
She didn't say anything. Ugh. Not that I was like, and not even that I was dating this girl like steady or like anything like that, right? It was just like, we're going on a dance. I want to take her out on a school dance, right? And I would pick her up, and it was very obvious.
Okay. What is it about that scenario that Jordan Peele has really done a great job at translating it into film? Because at its essence is what the like this movie's like horror suspense feel is about.
For example, there's the movie like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, starring Sidney Poitier, who just passed a couple months ago. But it's a classic movie of a white girl bringing home an African American.
Right.
And there's been other movies, and these tend to be either comedies or dramas. Never has it been done as horror, which
is bold.
It's bold, but for the person who is of color, ethnic, it can be a bit of a horror situation because you don't know what to expect. You don't know if your partner has said anything. You don't know the parents, how, like, what their prejudices or just thought belief is.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we recently did Blinded by the Light.
Yeah.
You know, in that movie, they, you know, oh man, I just spaced his name. Jay gets, you know, he has a white girlfriend. He goes over her house.
Uh-huh.
Very much, you know, it's the same situation, you know, feeling of like uncomfortableness, not only for them, but also could be for, because like, it's not just, like, I don't want to like, woe is us as colored people. I'm sorry, for a Caucasian individual who is dating someone of color to bring them home and not realize, because it's never been something that has been like brought up, is also traumatic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's uncharted territory for all sides, right?
Yeah.
And I think the more communication you can bring into it, more education, I think it becomes a better experience. So for Jordan to take this simple premise of what it is to be in a mixed relationship, but incorporate horror elements to it, and obviously the racial commentary that this whole film is about, is so witty, so smart, and the satire that he brings into it, I love it. And I think that's why this movie really resonates with everyone. Everyone was talking about it, right? And continues to talk about it.
Yeah.
I love it. I kind of want to jump into this aspect of it. How does Get Out blend satire and comedy to convey its message? And are there any like moments that you feel like that is dark but funny, but like
I think with Chris's like best friend, who's the TSA agent,
Rod,
dude,
I love Rod.
It's I mean, through the whole, like, Chris calls him, right? He's at the house with his girlfriend. He's meeting the Armitages.
Armitages. Yeah.
That was hard. So he's meeting them. He has these little moments, and he is trying to talk to a brother, right?
Yeah.
Talking to a friend, to like process. He's doing something we all done, like, or text, you know, whatever you do. But he's on the phone with him, and his bro is like telling him how it is, and it's you laugh because, like, you know, you as a friend for your, you know, friend, you joke around stuff, you know, like, oh man, you never know, you state these little cliche things, or even like things that are said on the internet, and you're sharing these moments that hit so well for this movie. It's, you know, he's being satirical, but even though it doesn't play out in that sense the way he describes it, it's even worse. Is what it comes out to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think is brutal.
Very brutal. Yeah. You saw this once, but for me, the second time I watched it, you pick up on the little, now that you know what's happening.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was laughing more. I was picking up little things more. Some of the things that I made a list this time of like everything that just kind of like the little like nuggets that paint a larger threatening picture of what's happening.
Go ahead.
But I mean, starting out with, you know, my dad's going to say that he would have voted for Obama for a third time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I love that.
He goes on to say the same thing later, right? The way the dad talks about deers, right? They hit the deer, and he's like, you know what? You're doing me a favor by killing one. They are taking over. There's too many of them. It's such a passive-aggressive way to talk about deers, but
is he talking about deers?
I've heard the exact same like structure, language structure, and sentence structure talking about blacks, Mexicans, Asians, right?
Yeah.
There's too many.
Yeah.
Okay. They're like rats running around the streets, infiltrating everything.
Yeah.
It's just when he says that, it's like, oh my gosh. Okay.
You know, keep going. Okay.
The dad, the scene where the dad is taking him, like showing him the tour of the house, it is just full of little things, right? It's a privilege to experience another person's culture.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Hinting at that they're going to be taking over the bodies. The story about Grandpa beating Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
And then the dad, Fred, talking about like, oh, he stuck it to Hitler with his Aryan crap and all this stuff, right? Like, just overcompensating, and trying to not be racist, right? The basement, did you catch that? Oh, we sealed the basement because we got some black mold down there.
I didn't catch that because it was my first time, but that's great.
We had to seal it up because there's black mold down there.
Oh my goodness. The whole sequence, and they do a really good job like cutting to help solidify some of these things.
Yeah.
At the end of the sequence, when they do a montage of flashback of, oh, let me see your form. Like with golf. Have you ever played golf before?
Oh my gosh, the party scene.
The party scene, bro. and look, I fully am excited to watch this again because I do think it's gonna be better. Watching it for the first time, especially because like I watched it with my wife, like it felt heavier. I think for me personally, because of the fact that like, I mean, not that my wife, like. One, my wife doesn't love violence, so it got really violent really fast towards the end, which is to me like totally what's the word I'm looking for? Justified. And so, but because of that, I think, and then like cutting back and seeing that, but I totally like, that's why I described it as like a layer, because I do think this is one of those, again, those movies that you look back and you as you watch again and again, you see all these other things that you're like, oh, so good. Because it's smart writing. The first time you watch it, it's something that you're trying to experience for the first time. And I think that's why people today still don't spoil it.
Yeah, they don't spoil it. I could go on making this list.
Give me one more.
Excuse me. When they're at the dinner table and the brother, he's kind of drunk and he's talking about jiu-jitsu.
Is he drunk though?
Good question. But then he talks about like with your frame and genetic makeup. Yeah. These little comments, right?
Yeah.
But something that stood out to me this last time was the mom comes in and she just says, Jeremy, right? He backs off and he says, oh, I wasn't going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Knowing now that he's a product, that Chris is basically a product that they're selling. Yeah. I like that like little hint that like, oh no, I'm not damaging the goods or our product. Like I was just goofing off. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I just, again, smart. I do want to jump straight into like the themes, which this movie just has so many. And I want to talk about like societal racism and microaggressions. What moments in this movie do you feel like really delivered this theme of societal racism, of microaggressions towards our character of Chris?
I mean, though, I feel like the entire film is literally, you could like wait 15 seconds and you got
15 seconds.
you're good to go, man. I think to me, this is, correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. I believe this is Jordan Peele's first directorial like debut, and then after that he did he rebooted the Twilight Zone, I believe.
Yeah, he was a producer on that. Host.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, look. I feel that he wrote part of this, possibly maybe a couple of years, maybe a portion of it or something. I feel this is very like, or even he was fed up with he was fed up with like this idea that like we've overcome this.
Jordan has been very like open about this movie a lot, very different from other directors. But you're absolutely right. He wrote this, post Obama era, right? We as society believed that we made it. We overcame racism, right? We have a black president. Of course, look at us. Look at America. We finally did it. It's taken us hundreds of years, but we have a black president, but that's not the case, right? Yeah. And so he was writing this like post Obama era, and this fallacy in America to think that we had overcome racism.
Yeah.
That we elected a black president and he was great, and look at all the change we've done as a society, not just as a government institution, but as society, right? America was at this point. And then you have what happens post Obama, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And I think because of that, like he layers every scene with so much care to word choice. I think every actor delivers upon every line written to really deliver on Jordan Peele's vision. And Jordan Peele being there to direct them, to give us this gem of a movie that is layered with nuances left and right. You know, this is not a movie that, I mean, we're watching during Halloween because it's a
thriller.
It's a thriller, suspense, right? But this is a movie that, like, real life people, to some degree, feel like they're living.
Yeah.
It's, you know, no one's getting body swapped,
right?
You know, but going to your mother, your in-laws' home and feeling these weird, not weird, just comments that are, you're like, what's happening now?
Is it really better? Right? Like the one old white lady touching Chris and asking, so is it really better?
Yeah. Oh, that scene, bro. That scene is so
and the old man just going like, oh, yeah, like, I'm gonna inhabit that body.
Yeah, let's go. You know, like, or you know, like the blacks in these days, or what does that one guy say? Yeah.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, please give it to me.
He says, the pendulum has swung back. No, for hundreds of years, white has been the dominating color.
Yeah.
But the pendulum has swung back. Black is in fashion.
That's right. Black is.
Oh my gosh,
dude.
Comments like, okay, let's get personal, yeah.
Dude, that's what this we're having a conversation to talk about these things.
I think that's why this movie just resonates so well. I remember when we had our first daughter. Okay.
Oh, this is gonna get triggery.
Yeah. So mad still. My wife, you know, starts taking her to work. I take her to like work and friends so they can meet our child. Thank everyone for, you know, while I was out for paternity leave, whatever. At one point, my wife is back at work. I'm not going to say where or who or whatever, but she's back at work and she's showing our daughter. And obviously, like, I'm brown. My wife is white. Okay? Like, whiter than white.
She's not Caucasian, but she's white.
Yeah. And when at one point, she took her to work to show off, and someone said something along the lines of like, oh, I love brown babies. Brown is so in right now.
Oh, dude, I didn't never have that.
And I remember my wife she was telling me the story. She's like, I just froze there. I stood at her. I looked at her and I was just like, why are you looking at my child as some kind of a fashion statement or as some kind of like a fad? Like, brown is in right now.
Yeah. Oh.
But it
hurts so much more from real life.
I remember I got livid. I'm like already my literally 8-week child.
Yeah.
Is already being seen as some kind of, it's already being labeled as a fashion statement.
Yeah.
We're doing this because it's so in to have brown babies right now.
Yeah. And I mean, something my wife and I have had a long discussion about is that there's this level of cultural ignorance. Mm-hmm. It's not that individuals are racist, right? And I'm speaking for every race here, like in all aspects. If you're Hispanic dating an Asian, or if you're a black person dating an Asian or Hispanic or whatever it may be, we all grow up. We have understandings, but until you have a relationship and are interacting with that other race in different settings that go about, you don't in a lot of cases, especially, there are cultural ignorances that we have. It's not that that we hate any individual. It's just that we don't understand because we don't live in that societal grouping. Yeah. Right? As much as you want, if you go to a college, one college has their own cultural like things they do than another college.
Than another college does.
Right? And although those ones hurt, not that they're like those moments when things are people are culturally ignorant, those hurt, but it hurts more when because I've been in those situations, similar, oh, I love your kid's olive skin, and your girls are so beautiful, or and I kind of joked, I'm like, oh, married a white girl so I can stop racism one baby at a time. One child at a time. Then I'm like, I don't know, am I stopping racism or just making it harder for them to make it known or whatever? In any case, but the moment, like what Chris happens in this film is that he tries to bring up moments with his girlfriend, with Rose, to like gate, like, yo, like, are you on the same page with me right now? Like, because she calls out the police officer pretty aggressively. Yeah. Right. And then as the, like, especially the dinner scene. The dinner scene was a big point for me that I'm like, yo, this girl
is overcompensating. Is that what you feel like?
No, I wasn't feeling overcompensation. I was almost like, I'm like, is this girl in on this situation? Okay. Like, is she really on his team? Or is she just the hook for the team? Yeah. Right? Yeah. That was because to me, that scene was such an aggressive scene. I mean, the brother was being pretty, like, I was like, oh, okay. I made a comment. I'm like,
the brother's a dick.
The brother's a dick. He's the guy who kidnaps the guy at the very beginning. Lakeith, I think. At the very beginning, right? And, I'm like, okay, this guy's already aggressive. He that whole situation. And Rose then trying to, like, oh my gosh, my parents and whatever. And then I can't remember what the conversation was, but like Chris trying to, like, basically do a quick check of, like, doing the thing, and her somewhat agreeing but not fully, like, trying to, like, be supportive and whatever, was huge. Like, to me, it was like, oh, okay, because that's when my experience has been like, I've gotten to a point for many years. I was pretty, like, when stuff was said, I just let it be. I didn't want to shake the boat. I didn't want to, like, especially as you grow up in high school, like, you go to I dated a lot of white girls, and when I would go to those homes, it was always like this interrogation session. I was like, oh, so what's your plans? Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna, like, like, okay, well, I gotta, have all these answers ready, and right. I'm gonna be good to go, and, like, I'll be fine. If I can get through these first couple of visits, like, it's just how it was. Like, it was an interrogation. Sorry if you're watching this podcast. I hope that's not triggering for you, but it felt, as a kid, like an interrogation.
Sure. Yeah.
And I got to a point where, like, I especially, it was during lockdown, and, like, a lot of the additional racism where some of the stuff was happening, where like, we're not past this.
Oh, no, not at all.
Right. We're not past this as a collective. Isn't some, a lot of individuals are. We are grown. We've been better, but there's still cultural ignorances. But then you see at a bigger scope in different areas, this is still the battle that we're facing people facing every single day. Oh yeah. And I remember making a distinct decision that, like, I'm going to be more like Rod in it, like, I'm just going to call it as I see it. And, like, when that happens, I want to make sure that that's apparent to the situation, because if I don't, then how will my children will never will continue to face the things I'm facing.
Right. And not just that, but we're also, by not commenting, we're allowing for this to spread and grow.
It's hard because sometimes when you do comment, it's sometimes it could be defensive. It could also be like this weird. Obviously they're always going to get, individuals that you interact with are going to get defensive. At the same time, you have to challenge those questions. Like the entire dinner scene, right? This movie, the entire dinner scene, he gets to the end. He ends
the dinner scene or the party scene?
The party scene.
Okay.
Sorry. The entire party scene is these little micro things that he's dealing with left and right. And then it culminates almost then it's a nail on the head when he goes to talk to the grandpa who's the groundskeeper.
Oh, wow.
Walter, right? And he's trying, having that connection and really realizing, and then it pays off with Lakeith in the Flash and him telling him to get out.
Mm-hmm. It's just so smartly written. I like that you mentioned this because I was recently, I don't know, how much time do we have? I was recently at a dinner a couple of years ago. Not a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago, where someone made the comment of I'm at this dinner, friends of my wife and their spouses, and I don't know any of these people. She only knows like her friends, not the spouses. And someone brings up the comment of like, that darn Trump, like, yeah, he's mean, yeah, he's rude. I don't agree with him, but I can deal with his racist rants as long as we don't have someone from the other party. And my wife looks at me, and I literally do one of these like, yeah, because you're all white. Of course you can deal with this racism because like it doesn't impact you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I'm like, and I kind of gently said that, like, I'm like, well, yeah, it's because it doesn't impact you because you're not like me. Dead silence, right? And looking back, I'm like, I should have been immediately. I'm like, I should have been a little bit more aggressive. I'm like, no. Like, I said my thing. I felt the microaggression from them. I said it, I don't want to say I retaliated, but I did say my thoughts and like hopefully help them understand a little bit more.
But it's not easy.
It's not easy.
This is what I think this movie really brings out. Is that like Jordan has taken this thing that millions of individuals have to deal with across the globe daily. Okay. If not, if not daily on, if you're married to an individual, like I am to someone of the opposite race than you, like I am, maybe at family functions or whatever, and then you like integrate like extended family or whatever you might call it on both sides, like not just like my family versus in with her, whatever you want to slice it. It can be very, it's a struggle, and it's like, then you start weighing yourself. You're like, how much do I have it in me to try to, if something gets brought up, because I know it could.
Yeah.
Just like, the comment, I love that you brought up the Obama quote because like things like that happen like all the time for us.
Yeah.
It's happening all the time, like these little things like, oh, did you see this thing that happened? What's your thoughts on that? And I'm like, why do you have to have my thoughts on this?
You're the token.
I'm the token brown guy or ethnic person. And so what I think in our show notes, we have talking about analyzing symbolism, cinematography, and some of the sound design in the film. To me, this film is really simple.
Yeah.
But what I love about this film is that because it's simple, we can focus on those. I'm glad we're doing these films because like, I feel like Jordan Peele took some notes from Signs. We did this we did the Signs last week, right? And he let moments stand. He let shots linger. He added a insert shot here and an insert shot there that leads us to ask questions as we watch this film. Mm-hmm. And as we come back, we are able to capture more of how this is actually impacting for the final payoff.
Yeah.
Right. And like, the more you watch this film, the more you see these things that you're just like, okay. Oh my goodness.
It's sticking out.
Right.
I want to ask you about that. And I want your opinion, especially like on the technical aspect of this. The sunken place. The sunken place, and Jordan Peele was very open about what it represents, right? It's a metaphorical representation of powerlessness, of isolation, of oppression of the system, silencing individuals and not letting them have, not just individuals, but people of color, not have a voice.
It feels so. It's really, he did a fantastic job at depicting that in a filmmaking standpoint for a feeling that I think many of us have felt.
Yeah. Talk to me about like the use of the set, of some sound, lack of sound. How does it, and even maybe just like the setup of it, that I'm imagining that's just the black room. He's on a harness, right?
I don't think he's in a black room. I think they probably did this in a green screen.
Oh, okay.
So the breakdown, I think what would happen is that like they set up a POV shot. So whether that be in some sort of like helmet cam mm-hmm. or even just the camera set up on like some sort of like dolly system. And the moment where she's like, go to that sunken or whatever, sink.
Or something like that.
There's a moment, if I remember correctly, it pulls back, right? You're like falling, but then it moves into, I think, a side shot. And I have to break down I have to look at this film again. But anyways, in that whole aspect, you probably have a POV shot with a tripod, then like it like on some sort of either tripod or some other contraption that they've put together that simulates that falling feeling to get you that POV perspective of Chris, right? Then you get an additional shot which is on a plate, which is going to be either green screen or blue screen, and that will be that you will see the falling, the down shot, so that way you can composite the world mm-hmm. and the place. The next thing you got to do is that you still have the shot, so you have the POV look of seeing the individuals.
Yeah.
So you have the screen, mm-hmm. right? And you have this feeling of out of bodiness.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for me, this is where, again, I don't know how many takes, how many situations they went through to get this sort of idea. I mean, he probably already had it in his head, right? He might have seen it in some other movie that was something similar that he's like, oh, I think this is a perfect example of like what I think if we tweak this thing and this, that. And so, I mean, really it's, like maybe one day when we are funded and we have, if you want to, sponsor us or whatever, we can try to do an attempt to recreate the shot.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, again, it's like I said, they're not, it's not the craziest things, right? Like technically what we could do is if I had a green screen, like if we were doing it at home, we'd have a green screen. We'd have like a stool with the green screen over, or another like green type of screen or whatever mm-hmm. over the stool. Then we'll have an individual sitting on the stool, kind of doing like the falling, sort of like grasping, trying to get out feeling.
Sure.
I think the thing that really sells this is the fact that he strips away a lot of the sound.
Yeah.
He feels he's suppressed in the sound mix,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's where I think where a lot of the effects in delivering on some cinematic visual stuff is in the sound design, because in film, one of the biggest things that really impact a sequence is that sound design.
Yeah.
Because we hear, if it sounds like real life, then we assume it's real life.
It's real life.
But I think I was making a joke the other day when we were trying to finish up a video that like nothing is real.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole, I think Insider or Variety has a whole sequence, like they're ice cubes. They're not really real. They look like ice cubes.
Yeah.
They're rubber and you throw them in the thing so they don't make any sound. And literally all that is people sound mixing that whole thing. And mm-hmm. like glass, when people break glass in movies,
all it's like sound mixing.
No real. That when they break it, there's a little bit, but not really a big sound. Yeah. Right? It's not like a glass.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, if you want some of that technical aspect, again, doing it at home, you're gonna get that shot, and then you're gonna have to need a POV shot. So whatever that you could even someone doing that with like I could easily see someone doing that with like a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So you're set up with a wheelchair, and then you're like come back, and then you could even have, depending on a rig or whatever, you could have your hand stick out.
Yeah.
To add, and then that as your hand stick out, you cut to like a side profile of the individual there, because you can, once you do a green screen, then there, and with it, it's probably even easier now than it was like doing it at home than it was like even just like 3 months ago with Photoshop AI and expanding something and like generating whatever, which is like, it's really awesome for like indie filmmakers who want to do something interesting. So yeah.
No, thank you. I think what I love about the sunken place is that I think someone like me would have taken that shot, and I love the side shot, right, where you see him seated and then literally sinks in, and then I love being able to see him like from the back looking up as he's falling down, right? I love the decision to do a POV shot of him looking at the screen and then falling back, because it really delivers to that feeling of helplessness, of isolation, of oppression, right? Where now
you have no control. And
we're experiencing that, right? Even though the themes are systemic racism in that, and that's what the sunken place represents, we're experiencing it with Chris as we're seeing his point of view of falling backwards and not having any kind of voice or control or anything like that. I just thought it was just, I love that. I love that technical aspect of it all.
If you sat down and you look at what it is, sometimes you don't have to overthink it, right? Just think of what is it that you want people to feel. Do you want to experience? You want to watch them like. Another example is there's a show called, I think Made. I think is what it's called, if I remember correctly. It's about it's about a female who is in an abusive relationship. She tries to leave with her daughter, and it's about her journey, like trying to get out of that. And there's a moment where she's been done a really good job, and then all of a sudden things fall apart, and she ends up going back to a relationship. She becomes very depressed, and she's on the couch, and she like basically like she like falls into the couch, and then she's like in this like deep kind of like fuzzy sort of well thing, to depict her depression. And I think what I like about this version versus something like that is that like my wife, she's like, that is like the perfect visual description of what my depression feels like. So for her, that really resonated. I think what I really like about this perspective is that point of view shot, like you said.
Yeah.
Because you're not a spectator. You're now an individual.
Exactly.
And it happens really early in the film.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's, I think if you have, this is one what you should watch multiple times.
Yeah.
To maybe really grasp what's happening as an entirety of the film, via satire, via the commentary, via the film, right? Because that POV then is amplified later on in the film as as they're prepping him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And him not wanting to fall back into that sunken place and feeling helpless. Right. It's so good.
It's so good. Look, I know we're at time.
Yeah.
There's so much I want to.
We will probably revisit this film.
We should probably revisit it. Yeah. And again, like viewers, if you want to continue this conversation, let's do it. Like we didn't even get to I love the scene where Rod goes to the police. One, it's funny. Second, it's smart that Jordan chose for the police to all be black.
Yeah.
What does that say?
No, I think
right.
Yeah.
Like there's conversation there that obviously about systemic racism and how the system is designed to not help people of color, right? The final scene when he's wanting to choke Rose and the sirens go off, right? Oh man, I remember. Okay, let's just talk about that real quick.
Do it.
I remember the first time I watched that, and he's over her body.
Yes.
And you just see the flashing lights of the sirens. My heart sunk.
Okay, why is it that your heart sinks?
Because I know they're not going to help him. A black man on top of a white female.
Next to a gun.
His
hands around her throat.
He's done.
They're going to shoot him on sight.
They're going to shoot him on sight. They're going to shoot him on sight. And I remember, because again, I was talking about this earlier in the episode, right? That final scene when he's taking out the family, I'm just like, yes, get him! Like, I'm full of adrenaline because like.
So right? Like, let's just say the payoff. Like, the moment when he looks at the con, I'm like, he's gonna put it in his ears. He's gonna get out.
Yeah,
and he's and
that also using the master's tool of oppression, cotton. He's literally picking cotton.
Yes.
As a form to escape.
Yes.
Okay, like I just love the metaphors here, people.
My wife. So that whole sequence, my wife was like, her thing. She's like, I just can't. She has a hard time feeling like, why didn't he just sneak out, right? Uh-huh. And try to, the thing. And I'm like, well, part of it's a movie, right? Yeah. Like, you need payoffs.
Yeah.
But as we've been talking, I think it's nothing to say anything about my wife. It's just that, like, for me, I was like, I needed that.
I needed that. And I think, like, I'm not one to watch, like, slasher films. I'm not. And I think this movie, not that it's done tasteful. I don't think tasteful is the right word. I think I needed the payoff. And again, it's not about revenge.
No, it's about safety. It's like, I mean, Chris is obviously with the brother, I think it's definitely revenge.
Gosh, I hate the brother so much. Everything about the brother. Okay, go on.
Even the father, like, he rams him with the deer.
Yeah,
he kills him with a deer
that the father hates so much that he uses as his form of racism, that they're overpopulating, they're taking over.
He has a deer head in this, like, dungeon layer that is mounted on the wall.
I just want confetti. Is that what you're trying to go for? I just want to throw things like, it's so smart.
No, it is so no. And here's the thing: it is like Chris ends up killing him as one individual. He's like just and again, like, Jordan Peele is trying. He's wanting us to question things.
Yeah,
he's not. It's like, I mean, some individuals might say, like, well, this is just like playing the, like, other, like, no, we were better than this, and why did he have to create something like this?
Yeah,
but that's the point, right? If you don't look at the, like, irony in the all these little things about this film, you've missed the point.
Exactly.
And I think that end scene is the culmination.
Yeah.
Of not only because I don't know, because like when I felt very much the same way. I was like when the father came out and then he rums him with the deer.
With the deer,
I'm like, yes.
You hate deer so much? Well, they killed you. Like the brother, right? Using bocce, which bocce ball it's a white privilege sport, right? So he's using bocce balls to smack him and kill him and take him out. I didn't know
there were bocce balls.
Or even the brother with his lacrosse stick. Yeah. Again, there's a lot of connotation around lacrosse being a rich white person sport.
Even though it was commandeered by Native Americans.
Right? Again, white people taking over other people's cultures and making it their own. Anyway, the mom with the China representing elite, having China wear of class, and destroying the china. There's all these little nuggets in it. But going back to your question about like that last scene of the flashes going off, you know they're gonna shoot him, and like literally my heart sunk, and I'm like, son of a gun, like
it's over.
It's over. He's done.
Yeah, it's
you like, didn't need to tell me anything. All I needed to see was those red and blue lights flashing.
And Rod does not come out of that car. Jordan Peele makes a deliberate decision.
Yeah.
You hear the car, you see the lights, you hear the sounds. It's a shot, if I remember correctly. It's a shot looking up at Chris. Mm-hmm. Or like a profile, it's an intimate shot.
Yeah.
Everything comes up. He loosens, but then you see like a profile shot looking towards the car.
Yep. Then
you see the lights at the top. I don't remember the next sequences, but then you see. I think it comes back to Chris's face, or Chris standing up and like putting his hands up.
Yep.
Right. And I had very much the same feelings. I'm like, this is going to be the freaking dirtbag.
Yeah.
And I just, I think, okay, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
What did you notice first when they cut back to the police car?
Well, when it cuts back, the camera slowly pans to show the side of the door, because he's opening the door, and it says transit TSA or something like that, right? Yeah. When I saw that, like I just felt this relief, this release of like my stress is gone. Like he is okay.
Yeah.
And then Rod comes out, and you cheer. You're just like, yes, Rod, like you did it, man. You saved the day. Do you know about the alternate ending to this movie?
No.
Oh, you can see it on YouTube. We'll put a link to it. So the alternate ending is he's standing over her. She actually dies, because in here she kind of says help me or something like that, right? Yeah. And then she dies. Sirens go off. He looks over, raises his hands. It's the police. It's actual police, and they come, they arrest him. Then the movie cuts to 6 months from now. 6 months later, and Rod is sitting like in a prison. They bring in Chris. He's in the orange jumpsuit, and they're just talking. And Rod goes, "Hey man, like, I need you to remember names. Like, try to remember some of these people's names, and I think we may have a case." And Chris just very sad and kind of gloomy, just says, like, stop. And he says, "Don't worry, man. I did it," meaning like he. Or I stopped it, he says. And he repeats it, I stopped it. And meaning, he stopped like the harvesting of African-American bodies and whatnot. And then he just kind of gets up, he's taken out, and you just see him walk away, and that's it. Very, very different movie, like ending. And Jordan has...
This wasn't released as... Right, he never like...
No, he filmed it.
No, I know he filmed it, but what I'm saying is like it wasn't included in like bonus features. It was just like something that was released later on.
I think like what do you mean by bonus features? Like it's on like on the Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you can also see it on YouTube. Yeah. He's got the commentary on it. But essentially he says, when the movie was about to come out, we were having the Black Lives movement.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter movement happening. And he said, I felt like society was waking up to realizing these things, that if I had put that original ending, it was too heavy-handed. It was me forcing a message that America was already getting to, right? And so they went back and recut it and reshot and did that final scene instead. But very just feeling very differently.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm really grateful that they went with the ending they did.
I'm glad that they went with the ending.
Here's the other thing I really appreciate. Okay. He didn't finish killing her. How easy would it have been for Jordan to say, for Rise, like, dude, he's like, you're safe, man. You feel like, having a sense of anger and that built up stuff. Chris, it's not that he wanted to kill everyone.
No.
I mean, it was a sense of protection, but also like he was just trying to get out with. I mean, once he killed the father, right? Because he needed to get past him. Mm-hmm. He just was trying to get. He was just trying to get out.
Yeah.
Right.
But the mom comes, and then
he even goes back to pick up the grandma because one, he's like he's triggered leaving a black woman on the road again. Payoff,
right?
Man, such great payoffs.
Yeah.
All of this, and to me, I truly just appreciate the fact that like we get back in the car, and Rod is like, "I told you, man." But you know what's even crazier about that is that like he alleviates this like this sense of tension, with this comedy. However, it is tragic that he the first thing isn't like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. It's I told you, man, don't go. You shouldn't have gone.
But like, yeah. So I don't know. It's just really good stuff. We will revisit this movie.
Because
I think I want to revisit. Maybe we'll revisit every Halloween.
We totally should.
Or I don't know. We'll figure something out.
I love this movie. I really do.
Yeah.
I love this movie. Go out, watch it again, revisit it. I think this came out in 2017. So
if you haven't watched it like I didn't, do it.
Do it.
If you didn't do it before this episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and would love it if you could subscribe on whatever platform you got your podcasts. And if you enjoyed the episode, be sure to leave us a review to help us to get discovered or to let us know how we're doing.
More importantly, what did you think of Get Out? What did we forget to talk about? Let's continue this conversation. You can follow us on socials, Real Chumps, or you can even email us at realchumps.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Marstrosity, MARZTROSITY.
And Rubio_TV. Join us next week as we continue our journey into some of our favorite spooky films with Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead, like we talked about earlier in this episode.
I'm excited. I haven't seen this movie in over a decade.
Same.
It's been a while, so I'm excited to revisit it.
Me too.
Watch it. So watch it, and we'll catch you back next week.
Later.